Wahala, it be like portable. Wahala, they pass wahala, but Nigeria wahala, now one in town. So guys, they bring this update for Namona for understand the difference we did for Nigeria economy and other places. And how Nigeria these years, how they don't take lose and lose and lose and lose and lose in all aspects. And the only things Nigeria we are supposed to be benefiting, how is being given out. So now that one they call monkey they walk, bamboo they shop. Okay, guys. So we now look out this analyze, like this news we be say analyze everything about how our economy they go and all this loss when Nigeria gets. So who's going to pay it? I'm always asking this question.
Has increased as far as use of international payments. Comparing July of this year to about a decade ago, it was Swift. Swift released this data just yesterday or the day before. So July 2023 plus 46%. 10 years ago it was 33%. That's its share of international payments. The euro, 24%. About a decade ago, it was 46%. So the more people are using dollars for certain international payments, less are using euros. Chinese yuan, 3%. A decade ago, it was 0.03. So they are climbing. So shout out to BRICS and everybody else that thinks that they can dethrone King Dollar. Not going to happen anytime soon. Have to get quickly to Nigeria. The MBS gave us so much data on Thursday and Friday. GDP came out Friday. First quarter GDP 2.5%. It slowed from last year where it was 3.5. First quarter was 2.31. So we continue to not quite meet up with population growth. You look at the oil sector, it continues to struggle. Year on year contracting by 13.43%. It's been in recession since the second quarter of 2020. Oil production 1.2 million barrels per day, lowest level since Q3 2022. A state of emergency needs to be called in Nigeria's oil sector because this is where your dollars come from. This is how you defend your naira and so on and so forth. What else we got? The non-oil sector is what, okay, actually, if you want to look at Nigeria's quarterly growth from about 2021 Q2 all the way to Q2 2023, you can see the illustration there. We're going down. Of course, we had a couple recessions, at least since 2020, we had a recession. We've been trying to recover. That Naira redesign thing was really, really bad for us. Annually, if you look at year-on-year growth from 2014, you see the two recessions. Sadly, President Buhari has the distinction of a hat trick of recessions from the 80s to 2016 to 2020. So we're still trying to claw our way out of that. Now, the contributing sectors, the top contributing sectors, crop production contributed 20%. You've got trade, telcos, crude and petroleum, natural gas, real estate, financial institutions, food, beverage, tobacco, construction, professional, scientific and technical services, other services. But here's the thing. You look at crop production contributing 20.66%. Let's break it down further and look at agriculture. Look at this. Crop production barely doing 2%, 1.8% in the first quarter. Look at livestock in recession. Negative contraction in Q2 this year. Contraction in Q1, 30.57%. Anybody that wants to see the damage that the Naira redesign did to the Nigerian economy, just look at the Q1 column and the amount of red. That was the first 3 months of this year when nobody could access any Naira. And slowing down from Q2. Manufacturing also barely doing 2%. Look at oil refining. I know we keep talking about the refineries. That is just dead and buried. 35% contraction, 34. Textile, apparel, and footwear. You know there are subsectors that make up manufacturing. That's also in the red. You talked to the Innocent Chair last week, the Innocent head of Innocent. Look at motor vehicle assembly. Contracted this year. I think that may have to do with, if you look at transport and storage, a 50.6% contraction. It could be because fuel subsidies were removed and that reduced the amount of transport activity because you see road transportation there contracting by 55%. Rail, there's nothing really happening there. Air transport barely doing 5% as far as the second quarter. Trade barely doing 2%. Real estate 1.7%. Now I'm going to get to Fidelity Bank and banking in a second. Financials did pretty good. Financial and insurance. You can see 26% growth in the second quarter. Q1 21%, 18% last year. Education, blah. Human health and resources, blah. So your economy is just not growing as well. ICT, Bosun Tijani, he's going to have to be, he should be, encouraged by this. ICT 8.6% growth. Telcos within that 9.7%. Although movies, sound production, music contracted by almost 2%. Broadcasting, our sector, we're doing all right. 5.7 in the second quarter. Yeah, well. And then arts and entertainment, Ms. Hanato has to look at how she will grow that sector as well. What else is going on? Okay, yeah. So I talked about banking. Yeah. Business, they were playing around with some numbers. I thought this was very interesting. They were looking at earnings per share for the first half of this year. And basically, the earnings per share for the first half of this year, Fidelity Bank topped it. Your earnings per share is just one particular metric that you use to as evaluation for stocks. You take your net profits divided by your outstanding shares, common stock. So Fidelity topped it for the year, but then it's interesting that you shouldn't really compare earnings per share of different companies in different sectors. You want to use them in silos. So you want to compare Fidelity with FCMB, Total, and Seplat. But these are the best as far as earnings per share is concerned. Fidelity, their shareholders just approved a rights issue and a public offer. So they'll be coming back to the market to offer more shares. It's basically capital raising. We know that UBA, there was a roadshow document that they put out as well. The banking sector, we know what happened with the dollar. A number of them are going to be raising capital, showing how well they've done so far. And speaking of how well they've done, so Fidelity Bank, I think 60% gains on the stock exchange. If you look at year-to-date gains for a number of those companies that we just showed in a moment, look at Boa Foods, 130%, Geregu Power, 127%, Total, again, helped by the fact that fuel subsidies were removed and they were able to sell fuel at a higher price. FCMB, 60%, look at Fidelity, 60.5%. These are the year-to-date returns as far as stocks are concerned. So they've done pretty well. So I talked about banking. Let's quickly get to Tony Elumelu. He was at the NBA conference 2023. He talked about Afro-capitalism. He talked about building one nation of Nigeria. He talked about the business environment. He did praise President Tinubu and the administration for taking the tough decisions to remove subsidies and collapse the multiple windows for FX. He said that they have to still power through reforms. He said Nigeria. He talked about how UBA is one of the only banks in the United States, Dubai, or with a large footprint. But he talked about unity, and also the fact that Nigeria needs to move forward. And finally, the president at the NBA conference, I think it looks like he's been listening. He's been watching this station. He says, can we continue to service external debts with 90% of our revenue? It is a path to destruction. We must make the very difficult changes that are necessary for our country to get up from slumber and be respected among the great nations of the world. Debts. The president is listening. We have to do something about debts.
I mean, good. President's listening. We have to do something about debts. But the question is, how did we get here? That's the most important thing.
Borrowing to pay for fuel subsidies.
Now, person will chop gbese go pay for the gbese. Pure and simple. So, also, apart from borrowing, Rotus, a lot of fiscal discipline. That's one thing we are lacking. So I'm happy he's saying it. I hope that discipline too will permeate into the solid mineral sector, that we are losing a lot of revenue.
That's dead. If you look at those numbers, solid minerals is...
But guess what,
Rotus? Has work to do.
It's dead. But other countries are enjoying from our free solid mineral because they are siphoning and taking our gold,
smuggling
all our minerals away. So it is only in Nigeria I see that the person that has the thing doesn't benefit from it.
Like oil prices when
Ukraine. It is only in Nigeria I see that when you have something,
see, look at mining and
you don't benefit from it.
That.
And Rotus, let me also tell you one very important problem we even need to mark out. Apart from Naira problems, resign problems, as regards this livestock sector, is maize.
Yeah.
Most of the feeds are made from maize. Price of maize shot up because of that decision not to give FX for maize.
On the 41,
right? Not to give FX for maize, and because of that,
they will go to the parallel market.
It's a blowback effect, and we have disastrous problems. So those in livestock are ruined. You are hearing about poultry closing.
Yeah.
A lot of poultry closing. Also, as regards crop production, insecurity. So these are the multiple problems we are facing. Please, I just can't understand how a country that in the 1960s used to provide 1/3 of the tomatoes in the West African sub-region suddenly be a country that is not doing well in crop production.